there.
Okay. Oh my God. There we are. Okay. Welcome everybody to the technological dramas of a
Okay, so it's just a countdown.
I apologize. I'm going to turn this down. Hang on one second. Thank you so much for your patience. Welcome to a very special episode of Living Theosophy. We have a very big show tonight, and this is the very first time we have ever Zoomed on the Living Theosophy channel. I want to welcome all of you here for a, I have to say, this is something, I've been excited for these before, but I have never been this excited. This is a very important subject. Today is Easter Sunday, and today we'll be talking about the real meaning of the term Christ. With me today are very respected friends and fellow theosophists, and we've talked about what theosophists are in the past. This is compassion. This is coming from a place of compassion. These are fellow students on the path. You can hear them in the background there. I would like to introduce you to, let me get my glasses on so I can, I'm not sure how I can field the comments. If you do comment, I will respond to you. And of course, this will be up for the rewatchers as well. We have Petra Meyer. I believe I'm saying that correctly. It is Meyer. Meyer? Meyer. 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 Okay, thank you. In 1984, Petra moved with her family from Germany to London. In 1991, she joined the Theosophical Society, and in 1992, the Blavatsky Lodge. In 2016, Petra became the program secretary of the Blavatsky Lodge, which she still is. And in 2017, the members also elected Petra as their president. She is still trying to do her best to honor her friends' trust and support. And Elizabeth Crofts is also joining us today. Elizabeth has been following the spiritual path since 1970, when she first learned about the wisdom tradition. Since then, she has looked into a number of teachings, including the Indian tradition, the Gitas and the Upanishads, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and has studied the basics of the Sanskrit language, which is the language of the gods, the fourth way system, and some Western traditions such as Swedenborg and the spiritual, and as well as health teachings of Edgar Cayce, which is fantastic. So it's wonderful to have her here. She has been studying Theosophy for nearly 12 years and is an active student and teacher in the Theosophical Society here in England. Neville is also with us. We are having a technical issue with his camera, but he is there both in spirit and right there behind Elizabeth when he comes up. He's recently retired after working very hard as a financial advisor, and he first went to see Krishnamurti in 1968, and since then he has followed various spiritual paths, mostly Eastern religions and philosophy. Relatively recently, he's come into Theosophy, and many of us can relate because Neville honestly answers here. He says he finds it challenging and difficult to understand. So remember, this is, if you're here, this is not by accident. These teachings are ancient. This is not to exclude anyone. And the subject matter, this is not meant to offend. This is only meant to inspire and get you to understand that the logo actually reads, "There is no religion higher than truth." And we are sharing with you these ancient teachings for you to do with them what you wish. If you are here, it is not by accident. I would like to introduce Petra as she will share on these quotes. I will pull them up if you wish, Petra. I believe I can do that here on Zoom. But I will also include them in the description of the video down below once we are done going live. Again, this is our very first time on Zoom on our YouTube channel, and this is our maiden voyage for this, but it certainly isn't our maiden voyage with these teachings. They are as old as time itself. We are simply students wishing to be of service to humanity. So let me see if I can switch over and spotlight our speaker tonight. One of them, this is Petra. Let's say hi to all of them, actually. Let's say hello to Elizabeth and Neville, if you guys are ready for us. Say hello real quick. Hello there, Elizabeth and Neville. Welcome. Aren't they so brave and wonderful? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. There they are coming in from London, and we also have Petra here. Petra is going to, let's see if I can spotlight the video. There she is. And I think, as I'm looking over here on YouTube, it is showing, oh yeah, we have a delay there. So don't worry about that. I apologize. If there's any hiccups in this, we'll work out the kinks here. Petra, thank you for being here. And again, the subject of our talk tonight is essential, I believe, in understanding this. The time has come for these teachings. I know that they've been said dedicated to the few, and the key to Theosophy, said dedicated to the few. This is going to go out to those who these teachings resonate with. Please follow your instinct and pursue these teachings. For those of you who don't understand what's going on, that's fine too. Everybody is on the path at their own progression and at their own stage. So the subject is, what is the real meaning of the term Christ? Now, Petra, before I ask you to take the floor, do you want me to bring up your text, or would you like to be on screen?
Yeah.
You want me to bring up the text? Okay,
Yes.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Bear with me, everyone. Here we go. Okay. Is it showing on your screen, guys?
Yes, it's showing.
Yes. Good. Wonderful. Okay. I also wanted to say really quick before you start, sweetheart, there are some abbreviations in here, and there are some terms that if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask, and we will describe what those definitions are. The ML standing for the Mahatma letters. IU is Isis Unveiled, the Secret Doctrine, Collected Writings. More of that will be answered. So these are her notes that she's been so kind to share with us before she begins her talk. Just in going with that introduction, Petra, will you please take it away?
Yeah, thank you very much. It is some time ago, last year actually, when I did a presentation about Jesus and the Brotherhood of the Essenes. The Essenes are completely excluded from the Bible, and that is for a good reason. Because they were vegetarians, they were very well aware of the esoteric meaning of Christianity. And it is not very well known that the Christian church developed gradually, and actually took decades until it was what we know now or nowadays. And the real meaning of Christ was forgotten by then, according to Madame Blavatsky and many other people. But I've chosen all the quotations from my previous presentation from HBB. It doesn't include anybody else. It's only what HBB taught us about it. And I put it together like a little story, and we can read it from top to bottom. It takes about 10 minutes probably. And then we can go back to the top, and if there are any questions, we can try to answer them. So what is the real meaning of... the real meaning of the term Christ? And I've started with a quote from the Mahatma letters, where he says the sacerdotal castes, the priesthood and the churches, ignorant of the true universal wisdom religion, created God and gods that make 2/3 of humanity the slaves of a handful of those who deceive them under the false pretense of saving them. That is what the Mahatma Kutumi wrote. Is not man ever ready to commit any kind of evil if told that his God or gods demand the crime? Voluntary victims of an illusionary God. Today, the followers of Christ and those of Muhammad are cutting each other's throats in the names of and for the greater glory of their respective myths. But first of all, what is a myth? And what does it represent? The characteristic trait of a myth is to convert its subjective reflection into a historical form or external event with which religious ideas are then interwoven, says Madame Blavatsky in Isis Unveiled. And so with the New Testament, she says, a Western allegory founded upon the universal mystery of the Logos, which means etymologically speech or verbum or sound, crucified on the cross of matter and resurrected. And this is precisely the substratum of pagan thought, which among other meanings is also symbolized by the rites of the resurrection of Osiris, Adonis, Bacchus, and other slaughtered sun gods, the resurrection of all nature in spring, the germination of seeds that had been dead and sleeping during winter, and so were allegorically said to be kept in the underworld, or Hades. They are typified by the 3 days passed in hell before his resurrection of Hercules, by Christ and others. The first historical traces of this wisdom alone in Egypt go back at least 6,000 years before the Christian era, says HBB. The allegory is in fact that of a new cycle of initiation, or a new version of the universal mysteries, physical and astronomical. These fundamental mysteries can be found in the sacred texts of every nation from the beginning of conscious human life. The prophecy of a child being born as an announcement for the return of a golden age can be found in all ages and among all people. A Messiah is being born from a virgin mother, describing a universal principle which is as allegorical as it is metaphysical in its hidden meaning. It has nothing to do with any particular man or any immaculate woman. The true Christians of the first century who knew about the cosmic mysteries died with the last of the Gnostics, wrote HBB. They had isolated the great universal principle of a ray from the center of light, or the Logos, hidden from the eyes of humanity, manifesting periodically during the course of cosmic evolution. By localizing and isolating this great principle, denying it to any other man except Jesus of Nazareth, carnalizes the Christos of the Gnostics. Theosophists, as well as the Gnostics and Vedantians, distinguish the corporeal man from the divine principle which animates him. The successors of the apostles or compilers of the Christian Bible did not record the secret doctrine of Jesus or the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. They have been suppressed and destroyed. And the Christians of today are but the usurpers of a name they no longer understand, says HBB. And she adds that the Church of Rome is the one that has wandered farthest from the real religion of the mystical Christ. Eusebius, for example, Bishop of Caesarea and his Christian historian of great influence and power from the 4th century AD, whom Madame Blavatsky could expose as one of the greatest manipulators of documents and fraud. In her Collected Writings IX, she calls Eusebius of Caesarea king of falsifiers. And in Collected Writings V, that he stands accused in history of perverting every Egyptian chronological table for the sake of synchronism. The term Christos, for example, was never applied to any one living man, but only to every initiate at the moment of his second birth or resurrection. He who finds Christos, the eternal divine principle or deathless individuality within himself, and recognizes the latter as his only way, becomes a follower or an apostle of the cosmic Christ. The coming of Christ actually means the presence of Christos in a regenerated world, and not at all just the actual coming in a body of the Christ Jesus. For Christ, the true esoteric Savior, is no man but the divine principle in every human being. He who strives to resurrect the spirit, crucified in him by his own terrestrial passions, and buried deep in the tomb of his sinful flesh, he who has the strength to roll back the stone of matter from the door of his own inner sanctuary, he has the risen Christ in him. The Son of Man is the child of his own deeds and the fruit of his own spiritual labor. The name Christos or Logos, the spirit of true divine wisdom as distinct from the spirit of intellectual or mere materialistic reasoning, is the higher self in short. The initiates alone understood the secret meaning of the term Father and the Son, and knew that it referred to spirit and soul on the earth. For the teachings of Christ were occult teachings, which could only be explained at the initiation. They were never intended for the masses. For Jesus repeated to his disciples that the mysteries of heaven were for them alone, not for the multitudes. The word Christos is anterior to our era by thousands of years. It was already mentioned by the Erythraean Sibyl, the prophetess of classical antiquity, presiding over the Apollonian oracle at Erythrea, promising the return of the golden age as soon as the child that has been foretold is born. This birth is as allegorical as it is metaphysical, and has nothing to do with any particular man, as we heard before. Examples are Krishna and his divine mother Devaki, Gautama Buddha and his mother Maya, who conceived him in a dream, Pharaoh Imhotep III, born by a virgin mother queen, Mutemwa, during the 17th dynasty. In the Sanctum Sanctorium of the temple of Luxor are scenes of the god Thoth, the lunar Mercury, saluting the virgin queen and announcing to her the birth of a son, etc. Other examples are given in HPB's article, Esotericism of Christian Dogma, where she confirms that the New Testament is but a Western allegory founded on the universal mysteries. The motive of Jesus was evidently like that of Gautama Buddha, to benefit humanity at large by producing a religious reform which would give it a religion of pure ethics, the true knowledge of God or the divine and nature, having remained until then solely in the hands of the esoteric sects and their adepts. And I can also add that she says the Essenes, the brotherhood where Jesus came from, were the converts of Buddhist missionaries who had overrun Egypt, Greece, and even Judea at one time since the reign of Asoka. And while it is evidently to the Essenes that belongs the honor of having had the Nazarene reformer Jesus as a pupil, still the latter is found disagreeing with his early teachers on several questions of formal observance. But his motives were, as we said before, like that of Gautama, a reformer, to bring us back to the true teachings and the true meaning of the Christ consciousness. So if there are any questions, we can also read a bit later on, probably.
Petra, thank you very, very much. That was extremely well done and very thoroughly researched. And again, the topic, I'm watching some of the commentary come in. They're probably, you know, I do a lot of introductory theosophical things here. This is the real deal, everybody. She's talking about Isis Unveiled, the Secret Doctrine, and the Collected Writings of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. And these teachings, as she mentioned, are ancient. They go back since the beginning of recorded time. And what one of the quotes that comes to mind real quick, and then I want to open the floor to Elizabeth and Neville and to anyone else who may have some questions. I believe I am getting questions in real time. If not, I promise I will get to them after the fact, is that there is a quote that HPB says, and I'll have to paraphrase because I didn't pull it up, that man needs but one church, the temple of God within him, which to us, we've been told, the kingdom of heaven is in your midst. It's in your middle. This is what you are. The divine flame is within you. And nature is the church. So Petra, in talking about all of this, this is very brave for you to say this. Have you spoken of this?
Yes, when I did the presentation, it was a PowerPoint presentation. It lasted an hour. And there are, of course, people who are very skeptical, very well rooted in the old tradition. But there were also people who said that was revealing, that was absolutely new. And it is so important that we know about this. and that every religion, as you said, there is no religion higher than truth. Every religion is founded on these fundamental esoteric teachings, and many people don't know about the real meaning of Christ and what he represented. They think he died on the cross and now I am relieved of all my sins. What he did is just giving us an example of how to do it. If it is Buddha or Zoroaster or whoever, they just give us and teach us by example, and we have to follow. Nobody can eat for us. We have to do that.
Ourselves.
But they can show us the right fruit or the right food. And that is the same with the esoteric teachings.
Well, that is quite a lot to share with what you would say the masses. Now, there are going to be people out here to the fundamental superstition. We talk about superstition and ignorance and fear is still rampant in humanity. But I do believe that those who need to see this will see this. So I'd like to ask Elizabeth and Neville if you would like to contribute any thoughts. If you have any questions, I would like to go to you two, but please don't feel under pressure. If you have any thoughts on the presentation or anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, well, I would like to draw attention to, I don't know if you can get it up or if it's worth getting
Yeah, I
up.
can pull it back up.
Okay, the third one from the end, SD2, page 232.
There we are.
Yeah, just the definition of the Christ or the Christos, also known as the Logos, which some of you may know from if you're from the Christian tradition. In the Gospel of John, in the beginning was the Word. Now the word in the Greek Bible would be Logos.
Mm-hmm.
So Christos and Logos is the same thing. So it's saying here, the name Christos or Logos, the spirit of true divine wisdom, as distinct from the spirit of intellectual or mere materialistic reasoning, is the higher self. So in other words, we're saying that the Christos or the Logos is potentially, it's in there within each of us waiting to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
And, as those of us who've been brought up as Christians would say, only Jesus is the Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing to get straight about this teaching compared with the normal Christian teaching on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
So to repeat, it is the higher self within each of us, or also described here as the spirit of true divine wisdom, not a person.
Right. Not a supernatural superhero. Yes.
Yes.
So it is the essence from everything develops. It is interesting, when I joined the Theosophical Society, Yancy Hoskins was president. And in one of her articles, she wrote, she came across a new translation of the English Bible, where it says, before anything began, the word already was, which is quite different from in the beginning was the word. The word already was, which comes very much closer to what it really means.
There's
So
a lot of interesting material in the secret doctrine and in the writings about the meaning of the Logos. But as Petra will know, it's very deep and complicated. But if anyone is interested, look in your index in the secret doctrine. But it's difficult. It's something maybe we could have as a Sunday night topic one day.
I would love that.
Yeah. Well, I also did a talk on Logos, the source and goal of all existence some years ago. So there is a lot of material about which we can put together from
and putting
all
that
of us.
putting that in terms of the higher self. What did you say just now? What was that quote you just gave?
Oh, the higher self. Sorry, I'll come back on it. Here we go.
No, Petra, the one Petra just.
Sorry.
Logos, source and goal of all existence.
Okay, so our higher self is our source, but it's
Yes.
also our goal, because we've become
Yes.
separated from that higher self, or it's inaccessible to us if we spend too much of our time, which most of us do, living just down in the material world, never even giving a thought to something higher. And one of the aspects of the work we do, you could say the most important aspect, is to try and build the so-called rainbow bridge between the lower self and the higher self, so that the light from the higher can come and enter the lower and enlighten us and lighten our being, and all these terms which you may be familiar with.
Yeah, that's right.
And overcome ourselves.
Yeah, it's also very important to know that Jesus came from the brotherhood of the Essenes, and that this is completely excluded from the Bible. If you have time, I can read a little bit what the Essenes represented. Yeah,
Please,
because
please.
it's also from that presentation where HPB says, according to the first century historians like Josephus, for example, Philo of Alexandria, whom HPB also mentioned before as one of the most reliable sources of historical events at the time of Jesus, and who had never heard of a Jesus and a crucifixion, as well as the Roman Pliny the Elder, who also wrote about the Essenes and emphasized that they were erased by themselves, more remarkable than any other in the wide world. They were regarded as the oldest of initiates, receiving their tradition from Central Asia, which HPB says that were Buddhist monks who had migrated to the West. And the Essenes were the converts of these Buddhist monks. Their daily practice was very different from the rest of the Jews. They never ate meat and took no other drink than rainwater and the juice of fruits, and studied ancient writings with great perseverance. They were very fond of music, which was part of their life, opposed to dwell in big cities, and always lived in the country by lakes and rivers, dressed in a single white garment, and their meals were taken in silence. Their collective occupation was agriculture, with additional studies from medicine to astronomy. They always stressed, as we have heard before, that to understand their teaching, it was necessary to live the true life for many years and to change oneself physically, intellectually, and morally. And they taught reincarnation. They had a 3-year novitiate before they were accepted into the brotherhood. And after 7 years of inner life, candidates were slowly initiated into their traditional secrets over the subsequent years, until they had attained the highest degree of comprehension. They had celibates among them as well as married folk to secure the continuity of the brotherhood. They were the only sect to be without enemies and escaped criticism from even the most ironical writers. They did not believe in, nor did they describe an anthropomorphic God. Their book of creation starts, without beginning, the law creates thought and life. Present tense instead of past tense, an ongoing process. In the place of God, they placed the tetragrammaton, which for them symbolized the law. Heaven is replaced by thought, earth by life or living matter. The tetragrammaton not only symbolized the 4 consonants Yahweh for the Jewish highest God Yahweh, but it also shows some very interesting ratio relationships, assigning numerical value to a word. It is likely that the term derives from the order of the Greek alphabet, gamma being the 3rd letter, gamma and tria from Greek geometria, which is very well explained on the web under the tetragrammaton and its relationship to pi, the golden ratio. Similar to the secret doctrine, where we are also told that deity geometrizes, working in cycles and on a strict geometrical and mathematical scale of progression. God is understood as the law of the universe. It is behind all manifestation of life, materially and immaterially. It is our teacher in all our nature, if we have eyes to see. We punish ourselves from it. Creation, Theosophy would call it emanation, is continuous and eternal, is permanently active in human consciousness as well as the material universe. It is a cosmic ocean of life made up of the totality of all living beings on all the life-containing planets in cosmic space. There's no distinction between organic or inorganic matter. Everything is alive. This could not be more theosophical, couldn't it? And it goes on. I just want to give you a little impression of the Essene Gospel of Essene Gospel of Peace, which a very experienced philosopher, Dr. Edmund Bocekli, found in the 1920s in the Library of the Vatican. And he translated it all, and here are some extracts. It is an original Aramaic text. The Son of Man is not all that he seems, and only with the eyes of the Spirit can we see those golden threads which link us with all life everywhere. The most powerful of the angels of the Heavenly Father is the cause of movement. Theosophy says movement, everything comes from movement, and only movement is life. Seek the angel of peace in all that lives, in all you do, in every word you speak. For peace is the key to all knowledge, to all mystery, to all life. I tell you truly, there is a holy stream of life which gave birth to the earthly mother and her angels. Invisible is this stream of life to the eyes of the sons of men, for they walk in darkness. But the sons of light have walked for 7 years with the angels of the day and of the night. And now they are given the secret of communion with the angels, and the eyes of your spirit shall be opened. And you will see and hear and touch the stream of life that gives birth to the earthly mother. And you will enter the holy stream of life, and it will carry you with infinite tenderness to everlasting life in the kingdom of your heavenly Father. And some of the apostles or students said, what secret must we know to see, hear, and touch this holy stream of life? Jesus did not answer, but he placed his 2 hands around the growing blades of grass in a pot, gently, as if it were the forehead of a little child. He closed his eyes, and around him were waves of light shimmering in the sun as the summer heat makes the light tremble under a cloudless sky. The Heavenly Father is the one law, he said. All in our understanding and all we know not is governed by the law. The whole of his kingdom may be found in the smallest drop of dew on a wild flower or the scent of the newly cut grass in the fields. There are no words to describe the kingdom of the Heavenly Father. And then he says something which is very, very important for our current situation. But there will come a day when the Son of Man will turn his face from his earthly mother and betray her, selling her into slavery, her flesh being ravaged, her blood polluted, and her breast smothered. He will bring the fire of death into all the parts of her kingdom, and his hunger will devour all her gifts and leave in her place only a desert. All these things will he do out of ignorance of the law, as he plunders and ravages and destroys his earthly mother, so does he destroy himself. For he was born of his earthly mother, he is one with her, and all that he does to his mother, he does to himself. I tell you truly, the book of nature is a holy scroll. And if you would have the sons of men save themselves and find everlasting life, teach them how once again to read from the living pages of the earthly mother. Only when he returns to the bosom of his earthly mother will he find everlasting life and the stream of life which leads to his heavenly Father. And when HPB was once in a great cave temple in the Himalayan mountains with her master, the Master Moria, HPB looked at the pictures of the splendid Rajput. There were many statues of adepts there. Pointing to one of them, her master said, "This is he whom you call Jesus. We count him to be one of the greatest among us."
Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. This is absolutely just such an honor to be here with you and hear you share these words. Thank you and welcome to the rewatchers. Please rewind, rewatch, and watch again. What are your thoughts on that, Elizabeth and Neville? Do you have anything to say on that? I do not want to speak over you.
On what Petra's just read.
Yes, yes.
I'm afraid I take time to digest these things, but I would say something else from the text as I've got it in front of me. Would that be all right?
Okay.
Or maybe you should have questions from your viewers.
I have some of them coming in now. Remember, there are a few seconds behind us. They were talking about, we have Mason, I see Mason is here saying, "Change me forever. I worked hard to find it, but it was all true beauty." There will be more comments that come through with questions about this. Again, this is really the very first meaty theosophical meeting we have had on Living Theosophy. Most of it has been the gentle introductions into further study, like Voice of the Silence and Light on the Path and the Key to Theosophy, which are the entry portals into understanding what these teachings are saying. When you have compiled such an incredibly impactful list like this, and on this day, and in this time that is happening in our world right now, where everyone is at their computer screen right now. They're all either watching a series on Netflix, or they might happen to flick over here and actually find something that truly does resonate with them. And how courageous is it of you to step forward and share these? Because I was telling folks earlier, I said, this absolutely would get you burnt at the stake back in the day. But the big thing is for the light to shine on this truth. Talking about, at the end here, as you are speaking about basically the higher self. In the Bhagavad Gita, you have Krishna and Arjuna. We always talk about it is God and man. God is your higher self, the Antakarana, the rainbow bridge that you spoke about, our lower self, the world of the senses, the world of the physical self that we are here in this body inhabiting, being a human being. We're being a human being with the world of the vices and the senses. And we are here to learn, and we are here to access that higher self and roll that stone away. We must remember that these texts were written in allegory. They were written in parable. We are, if we are not careful, if we take them literally, we become into the land of fairy tales, basically. But there is truth in there if we're willing to look and understand what that truth is. And so this is extremely illuminating. This is it's a very valuable it's called Sunday Night Live. It's called Living Theosophy because that's what I think would be the most important thing for us to do as human beings on this planet. That's why this channel is called that, is to become these teachings. And I do the gentle introduction, but I've got here folks that have been studying for many, many years, and that as they bring forth these teachings, if you wish to learn more, please remember the name Theos, Sophia, gods, Theos, Sophia, wisdom, the wisdom of the gods. This is ancient truth, sacred knowledge that belongs to all of us. And it is more founded in science than it is just on a belief. It's fact. This is fact. And it is nature that is the true church. So as we are here on Easter Sunday, talking about such an important thing about the Christ, about the crucifixion of overcoming your lower self and ascending into the, what do they call it in alchemy, where they transmutation into gold, the golden self from the physical matter. All of these things have been said since the beginning of time. It is time that we listen and pay attention. And hopefully these beautiful souls will come back and carry on doing what you're doing. But this is one of the first times that you've done this outside of a lodge, is it not? Both of you, all three of you. You don't normally do this outside the lodge walls.
No.
Do you? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, we did it at Blavatsky Lodge.
Yeah, but you do it with people that know what they're getting. Now we're actually, it says don't take it to the masses, even in in here when you were quoting saying that this is meant for the apostles, don't take it to the masses, but I believe thousands of years have gone by, hundreds of years have gone by, seeds have been planted. When in the world are we going to take it to the masses? Those that this resonates with, this is who it is for. If this sounds like some kind of metaphysical poem, then keep scrolling. That's fine. We're all in this together. But those of you who this is meant to reach, this will reach you. Please pick up these texts. It doesn't have to be on this channel. It doesn't have to be anywhere other than the work takes place within you. This is where this takes place. You are the temple. You are the church. This is inside you. The higher and lower self, as Petra was saying, is within you. You are the kingdom. They all have said it. The kingdom of heaven is in your midst, is within you. And that means you and everyone else as well. So Theosophy is not a religion. This is an ancient knowledge that all of the religions, you can see this coming through. And so I just get really fired up about it. I apologize if I seem to get really passionate, and I do, because I believe it is so important, and I believe it will help many, and it will help clear the confusion that is so desperately needed to clear, especially now. So that's why we're doing it here, and I'm hoping that there are folks all over the world that will pick up and do that. We do have some folks coming in about yeah, they're going to be asking questions coming in. You can see certain parts, or yes, certain parts of the world also. I will read those comments I'm reading them on my phone. I apologize, it's small. If you have a comment on this video, please comment and I will respond to you. I will then get you links to where you might need to go. If you wish to pick up the studies and begin to study Theosophy, I always want to give a shout out to the Theosophical Lodge out of London, the Theosophical Society headquarters. They have a diploma course and the advanced diploma, which is beginning now. Or if you wish, just pick up the smallest text. You can pick up Light on the Path and begin here, because here it says this little book, A True Jewel, belongs to and emanates from the same school of Indo-Aryan and Buddhist thought and learning as the teachings in the Secret Doctrine. You can also go with the Voice of the Silence. This is a fantastic text. These texts on cosmogenesis, on anthropogenesis, the beginning of the universe, the beginning of man. This is what Petra was quoting from. And also, I don't have them here. They're still packed away, as Isis Unveiled. These texts are available. You can get your hands on them. And you can also, if you feel, I don't know, if this touches something inside of you, if you go, that seems to make sense, follow that vibe. What would your advice be as fellow Theosophists, Neville, Elizabeth, and Petra, to those who are viewing, who find that, hey, this kind of makes some sense, what can I do? How would you recommend that they follow that path and answer that call?
Yeah, the most important thing that we put into practice, what we have learned, it is to clear up our whole constitution. It starts with our lifestyle. You know, when you see smoking and drinking and eating meat and whatever, we have to get informed and have to clean up our whole body. And meditating upon these texts and put it into practice. Without putting it into practice, it is just information what we give out. And when we practice it and experience it, then it becomes wisdom. And then we know, and whoever says, oh, it's wrong, or it's just invented, or whatever, that doesn't touch us anymore. We know by experience, and that is very, very important. You know, it started with me actually in my 20s. I worked in a big chemical company in the legal department, and next to us was a slaughterhouse. And I hated, you know, when the animals were delivered, and you know, they scream, especially when the little calves come, they scream like babies for their mother. And I was so shocked, you know, and one day one of the cows tried to escape, and a big cow jumped over a high fence and ended up deep down on the rails where we transported our goods, and broke all its legs and screamed in agony. And I thought, my goodness, if that is what we are meant to eat, and if there is a God somewhere, you know, being brought up in the typical Christian tradition, then he's a monster. It cannot be a God who allows this. And then I started to investigate, do my own investigations. And if you ask, if you project your questions into the universe, there will be an answer, if you are really serious. And I found the most amazing things. And in the end, the Theosophical Society.
It's true. That's true.
Has to say the same, yeah.
The practical application, as you mentioned, and I apologize, Elizabeth, I'm going to come to you, Neville, in a second. It is literally, if you do not put it into practice, application, study is one thing, but you must become these teachings. Yes. You must become them. That's when it actually starts to take place. And when you do, and when you revisit what you first started, it will completely reveal new information. And I promise it is compassion, it is empathy, unity, it is love, it is the fundamental law of balance, anything and everything you want explained. It is humanity's textbook. That's what I call it, humanity's textbook. And I believe that that's what it is. And it is, there's no other more important day than Easter Sunday. It was the 12th of April. The year is 2020 that this is being recorded. And our subject today is what is meant by the term Christ. What is meant by the term Christ? We hear exclusivity in what we heard today, being raised Catholic. I can understand there is going to be some reaction, but hopefully there will be in that reaction folks that listen to this and actually listen with an unbiased ear and heart, and they hear, maybe we've been doing something wrong. What is everything we've done led up to this day? Maybe we could do something a little different. Maybe we could do something a lot of different. And maybe there might be some other way for us to come together, for we live on a ball. We are all in this together. Elizabeth and Neville, I apologize. I know you wanted to go back to the text. I can pull it up if you wish, and we can go back to that if you'd like. Well, you have a question or a comment?
No, the only, the quote that you had on the other side, where it mentioned spirit and soul, and spirit and soul on the earth. And I wonder if
Father and yeah, so it's a third from the bottom. Do you want to read that out?
Is it this one?
Yes, it says
near the bottom.
Is it a Secret Doctrine 2, page 232?
That's it.
Initiates alone understood the secret meaning of the term Father and the Son. They knew that it referred to spirit and soul on the earth. What does Madame Blavatsky mean by spirit and soul on the earth?
Are you asking Petra then? Petra?
If Petra has an answer to that, yes.
When you practice what we have read and what we have learned today, then we become one. Then the Father is in the Son and the Son is in the Father. It is not a person again. That is what the real Christ are. The Son is the Christ consciousness which comes from the Father, as I understood it. And
but what does it mean, spirit and soul on the earth? What is the difference?
Well, the spirit needs a vehicle to express itself, and you can call it soul or Father and Son. Or the spirit can express itself, but it needs, as I said, a vehicle to express itself. Like our personality, there is our individuality, which sends a ray to experience the world in personalities.
Would you say soul is the higher self, or would you say?
In this connection, I think it is meant as a higher self. What she means as the higher self. The higher self is the Father, but the Father cannot manifest itself. It needs a vehicle to manifest itself, or send a ray into a vehicle.
The Father and the higher self are different. Or are you saying they're the same?
Well, I mean, she is not very precise here, but I think when we go from Atma Buddhi Manas, when Atma is the father principle, it needs Buddhi as its vehicle, and then it needs mind to understand and put into practice what we learn, or find out what the secrets of the universe are. So I think in this connection, she puts Atma Buddhi as father and son, probably. But actually, father, mother, and son are a trinity.
For those who do not understand, if you're new to these terms, we've touched on them in Akita Theosophy. We've touched on them just a tiny bit. We are sevenfold being, and Atma, Buddhi, Manas, the higher and lower mind, and then it gets into the physical, the astral, the desire. So there is more. Believe me, there is so much more where this has come from. If you're remotely interested, please continue your quest into looking into the teachings of Theosophy. I will include some links down below on how you can do that, or you can take it on your own, because we're not selling anything here. The only thing that is being sold here is compassion and kindness. And if you are looking for purpose in life, then I have found it. And through the application of these teachings, I wish to share that with my fellow human beings. That's what I wish to do. That's what I believe I'm supposed to do with my life. I don't think there's anything more important to do. By becoming them, by practicing these teachings in every aspect of every day, from the moment I wake up, and even in my sleep, every single solitary thing can be dealt with through these teachings. And this is what I was looking for all along. Wasn't in the New Age movement. That seemed to be a little bit facadish. There was something missing. And in the teachings that I grew up in, the religious teachings, there seemed to be something that didn't feel right. This feels right. And this is where and why I am here, is to share these teachings with you, to inspire you to continue your studies, and you become Living Theosophy. Living Theosophy is not a human being, and neither is the term Christ. It is not one individual being. It is each and every one of us. And again, as Petra was stating, these are some very big statements. And I will include all of these will be underneath the video, so you can actually read them. You can read them as they were presented on the screen in their entirety and where they came from. I'll see if I can change the abbreviations to Collected Writings, Secret Doctrine, Isis Unveiled, things like that. And then if you wish to, I don't know, if you're inspired and you wish to learn more, there are more of us out there than ever before. This is the time. We must pay attention to what we're doing to our planet and to other people and to other beings. This time out is not by accident. So during this time out, this is the most important time for us to hear and pay attention and listen. We listen. And so thank you for being here. Petra, thank you for being here. Elizabeth and Neville. If there's anything else you wish to say, I do have a few folks coming in. They are commenting, talking about the higher self was, it says, the higher self was expressed by the Catholic as the Holy Spirit. And they're having different questions. Okay, let me see. Kate is saying, Christ and my Father and I are one. Be like me. This, if I understand correctly, I enter into the Father's and through the Christ consciousness within me. And so, but I believe what she's saying, and there are some typos when you're typing fast on these, is that we are one, be like me, the teachings in probably the Christian religion, as I enter into the Father's through the Christ consciousness within me. Yes, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And that doesn't mean that it's just a place that's, it's not a person, it's not a place, it is you. It is everybody has the ability to access this within and overcome yourself, the lower self, the world of the senses, the world of desire, the world of lust and greed and anger and all of those things. We overcome those and we can tap into and actually climb what they call Jacob's ladder, the rainbow bridge and Antakarana, to get to the higher self, which is also within us. I am just so grateful to have had you. Did you enjoy your time here on Sunday Night Live?
Yes. Can we
No
close?
pressure.
Can we
Yes.
close with a little section from the Book of Hymns, from
Yeah,
the
we don't
Dead
have
Sea
to close.
Scrolls?
We don't have to close yet. If Neville and Elizabeth, if you still had things you wanted to share, I would love to. I can't believe the time has already flown by.
Yeah.
Have you spoken all you wanted to speak? And believe me, I'd love to have you back where we can have, this is the very first Zoom and the very first one. So have we covered everything with you too? I wanted to make sure you were not left out.
Well, I think we've hardly started, to be honest.
That's a good answer. That's perfect. So I think, does that mean you're going to come back?
Well, I mean, there's a lot more in this that we haven't.
I know.
You know, all we've heard is one brief reading of it. So
I know.
it's
I
very
know.
deep.
And well, we can revisit this perhaps if you'd like to. We can revisit this text again next week. We've got 15 people live with us right now, but there will be quite a few rewatchers coming in. And we can certainly revisit this and even expand on it if there are more questions. If people who are watching this have questions, we can even do this a two-part thing if you'd like to, because this is a very, very, very big subject. But in this 1 hour that we do have going live on YouTube, is there anything that you'd like to add, to say, anything you'd like to
add something?
Neville?
What practical step would you, based on these readings, what practical step could be made?
Petra, would you like to answer that?
To start with, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is that we cleanse our whole constitution, that we change our lifestyle. That was always also for the Essenes. For 7 years, they had to cleanse their whole constitution from all the debris of wrong eating and drinking and lifestyle. And after 7 years, they were introduced to the teachings of, let's say, Theosophy. So the body, the cleansing of the body has to come first. Otherwise, how can you put clear water into a container that had something else in it before? You will not have clear water anymore. It will combine with what's left in that container. So that was always the first thing.
Elizabeth? Thank
Yes.
you, Petra.
In case people want to do something before the 7 years is up, because it might be a little bit disheartening if they haven't started yet. Just knowing about this, just knowing that there is a higher self, that we're dual beings. We have a physical side, and that has its aspects and densities, but we have a higher self as well. And just to know that it's there and to keep on looking upward, so to speak. I mean, it's not upward, but, you know, just everyone understands that. Looking to that which is higher within you. And as far as you ever can, do everything towards the higher. So are you the person who rushed to the supermarket and bought 200 toilet rolls? Because if you are, you need to start working on things. You just take the one pack and leave the rest for everybody else. It's that sort of thing. Just be a little bit unselfish, be a little bit more kind, a little more considerate, because that's all looking towards the higher self in you. So
there's plenty of work to do.
Yes, lots of work.
Lifetimes upon lifetimes in one lifetime of work to do. So that'll keep you busy, your own self, not anybody else. Don't worry about changing anybody or anything else. You can't. You can only change yourself. But as you start to stop and take a look at what we're doing right now, is the perfect time to look within, look at yourself, look at how you interact with other people, be kind when people are unkind, be loving when people are not loving, love yourself, realign yourself. As far as the compassion, the eating, that kind of came with the studies. As I started to apply the studies, it was almost impossible to continue eating any dairy product. The compassion just came. It was the only logical thing to do. And it continues. The compassion, the path is illuminated as you walk it. You are the path. That's my understanding. So it becomes illuminated as you become it. And if you are selfless, and if you are wishing to ease the unnecessary suffering of all beings on our planet, then you are in the right place. And I believe that Theosophy will be for you. This is not a religion. This is not exclusive And this is not something that can't be done by yourself. You can do this by yourself. You don't need us. You don't need anybody else. You can do this. This is you. I mean, it is all about everybody. It's all about all of us, but you don't have to go to a certain place or follow a guru or pay any tithes to any particular building. This is something that can be done right where you're at, is what I'm trying to say. Does that make any sense?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Okay, very quiet room. I've really enjoyed having you on, and I think our first Zoom did okay. We didn't crash. We had some commentary, radiate positivity and gain positivity. Asha is coming in and saying, very well said. There's a few of them talking about their meditations. They're talking about, I want to say thanks a lot. This is a reconnection with the Christos logos. So they're actually using this language, and the fact that they know what Christos and logos means they're in the right place. So there's far more that we can discuss. And if you'd like to, I would like to ask you back, but you don't have to answer on this broadcast because then you're on the spot. But I'd like to continue this conversation where we can actually go through this presentation in our Sunday Night Live next Sunday, if you wish, if you feel comfortable doing that. And then we can take some of the questions from the audience and we can ruminate on what we talked about this week, if you'd like.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I think.
Said I was going to put you on the spot, but I left it off there.
Let's close with the
Yes.
6 lines from the book of Hymns, where it says, I have reached the inner vision, and through thy spirit in me I have heard thy wondrous secret. Through thy mystic insight thou hast caused a spring of knowledge to well up within me, the fountain of power pouring forth living waters, a flood of love and all-embracing wisdom, like the splendor of eternal light.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hermes, the sealed, how would you describe what we just heard? Hermes, how would you describe who Hermes is to our audience? I mentioned that as the mysteries, the sealed, what was formerly concealed. How would you describe what Hermes is? Could you? May I ask if you could?
This is not Hermes here.
I thought you said it was Hermes. I'm so sorry.
No, it is from the Dead Sea Scrolls, the book of Hymns.
Oh, from the, okay. I apologize, live television. I heard Hermes. Okay, from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Very well done. Thank you so much. It's very beautiful. And these can be considered the mysteries. What was concealed, the exoteric, the esoteric, exoteric meaning commonly known, esoteric not so known. So there are many things that have been edited out of the text that we now think are complete. They are not complete. There is so much that that can come to the surface, that can come forward, that could be considered hermetically sealed. That's what we used to call it, the Hermes, the Trismegistus, the thrice great. So yes, these truths and teachings finally coming forward in the technology of today. And I appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you for being here for this hour. And I think we did all right. Let's see what they say. They're saying, hello everyone. Yes, hello, lots of hellos. Thank you. There's some thank yous there. That seems okay. And we've sustained, it looks like there's about 13 people live with us. I want to thank all of you for being here. This will be up on for the rewatch. If you have any questions, the entire text will be placed down below. I think I have enough characters to do that. If I don't, I'll see if I can put a link to it. And then hopefully we'll have Petra back next Sunday at 7 p.m. and Neville and Elizabeth as well, if you'd like to join us. And we'll continue our conversation on our very, very important topic and extremely timely, which is what is the real meaning of the term Christ? Yes. Does that sound good? Yes. And it's frozen. It's frozen? Are you guys still there?
Yes.
And, okay. Oh, there. Okay. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I don't really know how to end it over here, but what I'm going to do is say goodbye to the Living Theosophy channel. And if I can ask you guys to stay there really quick and we'll have a little recap, but I'm going to go ahead and do this for the first time. I'm going to see if I can stop live stream. If you have any questions, if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, I believe it's over to the left. It's over there somewhere. So please subscribe and click the notification button so you won't miss out on any chances to see new videos. There's a new Key to Theosophy book study up. We're now talking about rebirth and reincarnation. There's the live Light on the Path, live Voice of the Silent studies are up. There's lots of theosophical texts here on this channel, lots of theosophical shorts, lots of theosophical videos. This is not the only source. There's lots out there and there's more coming. So I will say thank you to all of you for being here. And pardon me while I end this Zoom. I'm not sure how that will affect you on YouTube, but we're going to try it because we've never done it before. So here we go. You guys stay put and I love you guys. I'll see you later, but not you, Petra.